If you have ongoing exposure to controlling people, it's a virtual certainty that you're going to experience blurry boundaries, which is why I've created the extensive online course called This Is Me, Establishing Boundaries with the Controllers in Your Life. There's a link below that will give you all of the details, and I hope that you would find it therapeutic. A starting point in you understanding the narcissist is to remind yourself that on one hand, they try to make themselves look really good, like they know what's right and they have opinions that are the final opinion and their ways are the ones that you need to emulate, and they're not bashful in letting you know that you need to be more like them. But in fact, behind the scenes, these people have very poor coping skills. They lack psychological insight. They lack reflective thinking and analytical thinking. They're very black and white in the way that they engage with individuals. And you're going to notice that their poor coping skills are going to show up right away whenever you have any kind of tension or duress with these individuals. Now, narcissists are prone towards a particular defense mechanism that we refer to as splitting. Now, when I say splitting, this is when they go into their hard black and white thinking, and they'll push away whatever portions of life and interpretations that don't suit their cause, and they'll focus only on the things that make sense to them. For example, if you say something and it's inconvenient for them to hear whatever it is, it's like, well, then you don't know what you're talking about. Let me share with you what I know is wisest and best. And so they label very quickly people as being either good or bad. They're very all or nothing in the way that they think. And whatever is in that bad or the inconvenient category, it's like it doesn't exist to them. And so they only want to focus on the things that are right and good. And as a result, when they do this splitting and then they engage with you, you're going to find that they don't really consider the whole truth about who they are and who you are. You're either all the way with me or you're all the way against me. There's no in between. You're either completely accurate or you're totally stupid. Of course, they're the completely accurate part. Or you're either my friend or you're my enemy. You're someone that I prize. You're someone that I cannot stand. You're someone who is ideal, or you're someone who's the worst person I've ever met. And you can see that they can float between that. Sometimes when they're trying to butter you up, they'll try to make you think, oh, I see you as being all the way the best on everything. But then once you don't suit their purposes, then you're the worst person ever. That's what we're talking about when we talk about splitting. They only want to see the positive in themselves, and they'll, particularly once you get on their bad list, they'll only see the negatives, and they're not able to pick up on any kind of nuances. They couldn't care less about backstory. All they care about is finding a narrative that suits their cause in the immediate moment. And as a result, you can see that this defense mechanism of splitting sets them up to have all sorts of ideas and attitudes that they bring to you that make it impossible. For example, when that narcissist has gone into this splitting kind of mindset, they're going to come toward you thinking, well, in this relationship, I'm the superior one. I have to be that. They don't want to look at that side of themselves as less than adequate, and you should just simply be happy to be in my company. And so they don't want to think of anything at all about some of their negatives, as opposed to, hey, look, when you get to know me, you're going to get to know certain things that may be a little quirky, and we'll be able to talk it out. They don't think that way. Or when they approach you, they'll basically say, if you create pain in me, it's not just bad. It means that you're the worst. And so rather than saying, okay, you and I are not coordinated right now, let's talk, it's like, no, they can't go into that middle space. It's like, well, if there's a problem, then I just hate the fact that I've ever met you. You're terrible. You're awful. And they label you in the worst sort of way. Or it may be, as they go into this splitting defense mechanism, they'll say, well, I don't really have problems. The only real problem I have is being attached to you. And so rather than thinking, sometimes when you are trying to get along with other individuals, differences come up, whether it's in our background or our emphases or, how our day's been going. And so we need to factor those differences in as we get to know each other. It's like, nope, if there's a problem, it can't be me, it has to be you. And we're not going to look at all those many other kind of variables. As a result of this, then, you can see that whenever they do feel anger or whenever they do feel tension, it's probably going to be of the exaggerated variety. They can come into real strong rage. How dare you think differently? They can be extremely punitive with passive aggressiveness. They don't let go of their grudges and resentments, and they'll hold you in contempt. And the answer, the rationale they have is, well, you've done everything wrong that's made me feel this way. It's all your fault. And there's no willingness to say, hey, let's break this down and let's look. Their defensiveness is off the chart, and you're the cause of their problems because it can't possibly be me. That's what we mean when we say they split. Now, there's a byproduct of this. In their splitting, and they refuse to examine the things that are uncomfortable, and they only want to take credit for the things in them that are good, what they'll do is they'll push all of that turmoil that they don't want to deal with into you. And as they split, they want to make you feel splintered. And by that, I mean they want you to feel discombobulated. They want you to feel uncertain about who you are. And the more you splinter off and the more you just have all sorts of wild and crazy kind of reactions in them, then that somehow justifies, for example, if you say, I can't stand it when you talk to me in this way. I can't stand it that you're being so stubborn. And then they'll look and say, you see, this is why I can't deal with someone like you. And so they go into the diatribe about how awful you are, as opposed to listening to what you're trying to say. And so they split. They're very black and white. And you're going to be on the back side of the equation. And then when you splinter, they come back and say, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Exhibit A right here, look at how terrible this person is. Now do you see why I need to denigrate this individual? That's how they think, and it's extremely manipulative, and it's the ultimate form of gaslighting. Narcissists, in their splitting off and in their inability to look at all of that in-between material between you and them or within themselves, need you to respond poorly. They need you to respond in a state of disarray so that it can prove to them why they really are all the way better and you're all the way worse, and it validates their narrative. So it's amazing when you're engaging with these individuals how they have this game-playing kind of mindset, but again, it's all part of a defense mechanism. It's their way of saying, I don't want to have to examine myself honestly because it's too painful. They're defending against that pain. So let's keep in mind that when narcissists go into this black and white, all or nothing kind of engagement with you, what they're doing is they're running away from their own shadow self, is what we call it, the part of themselves that they just don't like, or the part of themselves that's unflattering, or the part of themselves that's confusing, or too painful, or too difficult. It's like, I don't even want to look at that. I don't want to go into it. I can't even say that it exists. And so they push it off to the side, and then they just generate the narrative in whatever way suits their purpose. Basically, they project whatever unfinished ugliness they have on the inside of themselves, and they put it onto you, and they say, look how ugly you are. And then if you argue, if you try to convince them otherwise, if you defend too strongly, you're playing along with their game. Now, healthy individuals, rather than splitting, will go into that middle ground and say, you know what, the fact is, if you get to know me, you're going to find out that I'm a mixed bag. I have a conglomeration of pluses and minuses, and I'll admit it, it's simply there, and I know you have yours. As we get to know each other, let's make sure that we factor that in. In fact, let's take it a little bit further. The best way for us to know each other in a meaningful and in a directive kind of way is to know the sum total of each other, not just the good stuff and then, blocking off the bad. Intimacy actually is contingent upon us being able to know the pluses and the minuses and learning how to coordinate and blend and assist and help one another in the midst of all of that. Narcissists is like, no, You only get to know the stuff about me that makes me look good, makes me look powerful, that makes me look decisive, and I'm not doing all that other. And as a result, they can't go into normal relationships with any kind of reasonable humanity. They're constantly trying to posture, and that's why we say these are not going to be your safe people. So let's understand that wholeness involves you being able to embrace the sum total of who you are and the sum total of what the relationship is. And wholeness is much more than just trying to look at whatever makes you look good in the moment. Narcissists will split off the part of them that they're embarrassed by. They have that quiet, secret self-loathing. I don't want anybody to know certain things about me. And as a result, they don't present an honest portrayal of who they are. And so I'm hoping that you and I can see through it, and you and I can have an alternate thought that says, well, when you get to know me, you're going to get to see me, lumps, bumps, bruises, and all. I accept me for who I am. I'm a person in growth, and I'd like for you to join me in that. When the narcissist says, well, that proves why you're no good for me, it's like, okay, I get it. I really am not good for you. You're not good for me. I'm going to engage with individuals who don't just look at the portions that suit their fancy in the moment. I want to be with people who can be authentic, which means their external and their internal self are quite consistent. The narcissist can't do that. I hope that becomes a defining feature for you. Now, videos such as this can give you some good awareness of what you might be dealing with. I mean, they keep coming up with all these tricks in the book to try to keep you off base. Don't let that happen. That's why I put the videos out. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, keep doing it, or subscribe, and we're going to keep bringing more videos to help you understand what you're up against. If you have a need for therapy, you know that I've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com, and I believe in it. It's something that I think is wisest and best when you have this confusion that they try to create in you. If you need somebody to be objective and have an arm of encouragement around you, that's why I am sponsored by the folks at BetterHelp.com. You can go through their link and get a therapist that can work with you, and they can help you break things down and get an understanding of what you're dealing with. It's convenient, it's accessible, and they get back with you quickly on this. So please, as the need is there, get the therapy that you need. Also, I put together courses, and these are meant to have a very therapeutic initiative. Each course has at least 25 videos with handouts, written documents, guided questions. We have Ready, Set, Connect about making good connections. We have This Is Me about establishing your boundaries, Free to Be, finding yourself despite the controllers. We have a new course on the way very soon. And in addition, we have on my website access to my webinars, which are 90-minute presentations, and then my articles, my books, plenty of resources, access to the podcast, etc. Okay, narcissists are highly defensive, and that defensiveness of splitting is one of their favorite things that they do. It's almost so subconscious they hardly even know that they're doing it, but it's very central to what they are. Know that going in, and then as you see it happening, whatever they want to do to try to make you responsible for it, and sidestep that and decide, well, I don't want to be a splintered person. I want to be somebody that examines the whole. And in doing so, that's what sets you up to be more of a steady individual. And I hope that ultimately it leads you down the pathway towards your own sense of personal peace.